Good morning, everybody. Hope y'all had a good weekend. I had an eventful weekend. I had trying to fix a sink, and it didn't work out. It went from broken to more broken, so now it's a whole nother escapade I got to deal with. But that's that's life in a house, I guess. Such is life in a house. In any case, um, today I want to ask you to get things kick-started for me, if you don't mind, by sharing this. Hi, Maureen. I'm glad Maureen's here. My mama's here. My third mom. I got a ton of them. This is my third mom. This right here, my third mother. I got three of them. My birth mom, my Arkansas mom, and I got a Texas mom. I got three. More the merrier. The more the merrier. Um, in any case, if you guys can please um, um, no, this one I thought was a this the sink was jerry rig to begin with, and I didn't wasn't aware of that. Um, and it's old and rusted, and I thought I could just repair a piece. No, no, they did all kinds of man. And in either case, it it became way more involved than could ever possibly be anticipated. To put it like this, the spout coming from the sink was in three pieces, and each piece was a reducing of the other one to fit something else that it shouldn't have been to begin. So when you took one off, it was really being held on by the other one that had rusted off and was broken, but was held there. And so it was a stage defect of trouble, not the kind of not the kind of thing I wanted to encounter at all. So needless to say, it'll be a new sink. It'll not be pieces. Looking forward to that. Like a whack to the shin. Anyway, yeah, Connie. When I tell you it's crazy, it's crazy. So the topic today, um, I want to make people aware of two things. After our discussion on Friday about weeping, I'm in no way equating uh, your um, normal reaction to hardship with an emotional reaction to what I'm going to talk about. Okay. The topic I'm going to talk about today is more so about um, something akin to drug addiction. That's the best way I can. That's the best way I can say it. It's drug addiction is the closest I can equate. Closest I can equate. Um, that would be normally so, but like I said, the entire house is jerry rigged. The entire house is jerry. When I tell you that they didn't want to try and do anything correctly, just trust me when I say they didn't want to do anything correctly, like at all, and so you at all, like at all. Whew, man, you know those places where you encounter like you could tell that they just added stuff to it so they wouldn't have to redo the whole thing. Everything in this house is like that. Everything, 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 everything. Ironically, that sink is exactly like the topic today. Ironically, this house is like the topic today. I'm now thinking about it. Everything about this house is this topic: the elation and the ecstasy of forgiveness. Have you ever been to a gathering of saints? And or say, just let's just go for instance, your church. You're in church. We all know the terms around here, okay? The church. And ironically, every Sunday, it seems the same person goes forward for the same request to pray for. You ever had that where you notice that it's usually on a cycle, the same people come forward and ask for prayers of forgiveness for something, or the mantra that they need prayer for something comes up, and it's always the same people over and over and over and over. Or you know that one person that's what they struggle with. Something hit me last week, and it got solidified in verification um, in about 5 different ways since it came to me. Um, and when it hit me, I was blown away. I really was. Let me see if I can get the other half to do me a favor here so I wouldn't have to leave the screen. Give me a quick second. Okay. Because I wrote it down, and when I wrote it down, I made sure to, but I didn't bring it downstairs because the way I wrote it down when he dumped it on me, because he dumped this on me, I didn't. I was thinking about this topic for about 3 or 4 days, 5 days now, and then someone said I should address a portion of that thought process. They didn't know that, and then the weekend showed up, and he cleared it all up for me, and so it was perfect timing. But you always have this one person that comes and says they have a problem, they struggle, they struggle, they struggle. This is the one thing or two things I can't let go of. Something weird that came to my mind was the modern day, and even I guess back in the day too, a lot of um, believers, Christians, use forgiveness as a excuse for sin, if that makes sense to you. Um, I'll break down why I think that. I believe some will go into a behavior expecting the elation of forgiveness. Like the concept behind the crying and the cleansing of the soul and the relief you feel almost becomes a high. Like they become now that is their Christian walk. I fall and I have to go to the altar and I get forgiven, and it feels so good to be forgiven. And then I drop again and rise again because I'm forgiven, and it's like a high. They don't really focus on forgiveness, they focus on the feeling of forgiveness. And it solidifies in them the need to fall. It's almost like they verify the fall with forgiveness, but then forgiveness makes them encouraged to be okay with falling. So they never really clear themselves of any actions that seem habitual. They keep the habitual aspect and call it human nature. And then they go to get forgiveness, and the forgiveness is what makes them feel okay about falling because now they have been forgiven, and they feel like they should love God more now because they have been forgiven. So what ends up happening is that you're using it as a drug. You get low, you get high, and the high becomes more emphatic when you fall more. And now they become a cycle where you have to fall in order to experience forgiveness. And the more you experience forgiveness, the more you want it. So you end up falling more to gain more forgiveness. What you're not realizing is that you're not really invoking forgiveness. You're invoking a feeling of validation for your action in the form of or akin to what you think is forgiveness. Because in order to get forgiveness, what you actually have to do, and I'm talking about on a God level, the thing you have to do to get forgiveness is to actually repent. And when you repent, you don't go backwards, you turn around. But for many, you don't know it. You don't know it. You think I'm doing the right thing, but you're not. And here's a prime example. Remember, every time I tell you this, okay? And I know Corey has told me to leave things like this alone, but when it plays directly into and lends credence to the discussion, I find it necessary to highlight these things, okay? Most believers know that you can't live at a level that takes most to a point where they think they see God. Everybody falls. Genesis tells us that we will fall if we go higher. Now, I'm not going to go after the person, but I am definitely going to go after the statement. Here is why. Thank you so very much. In case I don't see you, have a good trip. Love you too. All right. So, this statement by this individual. The concept here is that you vacate responsibility that you have taken on when you become a believer. Because although he tells you to die to self and you have a new life, we love to hold on to the old because it's human nature. What you're really saying, and whether you want to admit it or not, what you're really saying is, God, look, I get that you're giving me a new life, but trust me, your new life can't compare to how strong my old life really was. My old life is pretty strong. And believe it or not, God, I'm going to have to go after it at some point, and it will overpower me. Whether or not you have power over it doesn't matter, God. My old self is stronger than you. My old self is stronger than you. I know you said you put to death sin and the grave, but understand this, God. You do realize I'm human, right? And as a human, you don't really have that kind of power over me. My human nature will always win at some point. And it's a good thing you have forgiveness because you do realize that you're not as strong as you say. Because if you were, you'd be able to stop me from sinning after I give my life to you. But you can't because my flesh is stronger than you. Look, I know you said greater is he. I get all that, but you don't understand. You just don't get it. So my wonderful wife brought the piece of paper down, and this is what he told me. Okay. He said, and y'all can say this, it wasn't him or not, but I'm telling you, from me, I don't just randomly think of this stuff, and it's not like I go out of my way to try and experience. No, I was sitting there, and This had been a topic he dropped in my lap. I talked to other people before, and they brought the same thing up. And then he dropped this. Jesus paid a debt of a physical death for a spiritual transgression. The transgression was against the nature of God and his laws. It attached itself to the flesh and had to be fulfilled there to fully access the spiritual. The reality is he loved us and what we could be in him. He does not love us in our sin. He loves us in spite of our sin and created a way out. We keep hearing that he loves us as we are and as we are and as we are. Actually, he loves you in spite of what you are. Not as. We say that in order to stay that way. In spite of makes you realize that, yeah, you're that way. And I loved the fact that what I'm going to do will bring you to a closer relationship with me. Love compelled him to create a method for us to be freed from a certain location that we were, the sinful nature. The cost of the fall was death, eternal death, full, complete death, body and soul. That was the punishment, plain and simple. Don't get it twisted. Sin, when it entered, the complete death of man was the only solution. When Jesus came and created an avenue to get back access to the kingdom, his blood was the passport through the doors of the kingdom to live in a unison relationship with God. His physical death was a fulfillment of the requirement of the fall as a punishment that was fulfilled. His purity was a fulfillment of the spiritual nature. And he has put you in both. His death rectified the issue of the flesh having power, and it rectified the issue of the soul going to hell. It rectified both. So here's what you're in essence saying. When you, as a believer, say that you have this one thing that you keep doing because human, you are telling God that the sacrifice of his son was insufficient to the task at hand. You are telling him that his sacrifice was insufficient to the task at hand. And that's a pretty bold statement. It's a pretty bold statement. I just think about what you're actually saying. For a moment, think about what you're actually saying. So I want to read something here. And this is what I would consider the modern day Christian movement. Okay. Matthew 23. Okay. 16. Woe to you, blind guides, who say, whoever swears by the temple, it is nothing, but whoever swears by the gold of the temple, he is obliged to perform it. Fools and blind, for which is greater, the gold or the temple that sanctifies the gold? And whoever swears by the altar, it is nothing, but whoever swears by the gift on it, is obliged to perform it, fools and blind, which is greater the gift or the altar that sanctifies the gift. Therefore, he who swears by the altar swears by it and all things on it. He who swears by the temple swears by it, and he who walks and by him who dwells in it. And he who swears by heaven swears by the throne of God and by him who sits on it. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, and have neglected the weightier matters of the law, justice and mercy and faith. Those you ought to have done without leaving the others undone. Blind guides who strain out a gnat and swallow a camel. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees and hypocrites, for you cleanse the outside of the cup and dish, but inside is full of extortion and self-indulgence. Blind Pharisees, first cleanse the inside of the dish, that the outside of them may become clean. Also, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are like whitewashed tombs, which indeed appear beautiful outwardly, but inside is full of dead men's bones and all uncleanness. Even so, you also outwardly appear righteous to men, but inside you are full of hypocrisy and lawlessness. Now, the giving up and turning away is essential to your walk. Many, and yes, I was one, many believe that when you become a believer, you come with all your issues and your baggage, and over time, it gets removed, and it's a struggle and a fight, and you'd have to get rid of it in increments, and some things you fight with till the day you die. And I have a simple question, okay? Would you drink clean water in a absolutely filthy cup? I mean, you pick a cup up and you're dying for some water, and you pick up the cup and you put water in it, and you're not watching the inside of the cup, but the outside looks immaculate. It is just beautiful, clean. You could lick the side of the cup and it's just, but then you pour the water in and you attempt to take a drink, and then you realize that there's a whole bunch of stuff just floating in. I mean, debris and slime and a whole bunch of stuff. Any value the water had at that point would just have to be tossed out. In fact, the water itself wasn't the problem. The vessel that the water was being put into is the issue. But here's the best part, is that the water is supposed to be used to clean out both outside and inside. So that when the water is in there, it's of value to whoever else is going to partake of the cup. What many believers do instead, they wash the outside, I become a Christian. And then they go to get water, and the inside's dirty. They can't really offer that drink to anyone else because they're too focused on the fact that it's dirty. And they come and they get washed out a little bit, and then they go back for the rest of the week and they never wash the cup again. They don't ever keep a flow of water to get the inside clean. They leave it to build up, and then they go back again and they say, "Oh man, it's dirty. I need to get some water in here." And they put some water in there, and then they go back again. And this is the cycle. Or better yet, some of them don't even do that. They just wash the outside. Now the inside of the cup is starting to rut all the way through, spill over the top, get on the outside. So they turn the cup inside out and just wash the outside and put it down, and now it's a clean cup. Well, then you realize you can't hold anything in it, so you got to go wash the cup again to make it look clean. But it looks clean, and that's sufficient for me. I don't really need to drink the water. I just need to have the appearance that the cup is usable. I just have to look usable. I don't have to be usable, just appear that way. I don't have to be pure. I just have to appear that way. Here's the thing, what really should happen when you have given yourself to God. You are the cup, dirty in and out. You are coming for a cleansing. Inside and out. And what happens to the cup is a full cleansing. All of the stuff that's in there must go. It must go. When you turn on the drip, it's like saying, I love God. Okay, good. That's a drip in the cup, and you're calling it getting it clean. You turn the faucet on, right? And it's just, and they'll call that a baby Christian. I'm sorry to tell you, it's not a Christian at all. There are plenty of people that say they believe in God and they love God. They still don't do anything remotely close to what he's been telling them to do. It's just a drip. Then there are some that have just a trickle. Still not going to clean the inside of the cup. The buildup will be far faster than the water. Then there are those who are the cup and realize, I am filthy. I do not want to be this. I don't bring anything good at all in me. Nothing. I want it all gone as quickly as possible. And man, if the best way to do it is to put that faucet on full, I am putting it on. In fact, I'm going to use the hose attachment. Please use the hose attachment. Just flush it all out. In seconds, it's gone. Why? Because you've realized the value of water, not the value of the cup, the water. The same way these Pharisees valued the gold, not the temple. It's the exact same thing. Valuing the cup, not the water. The water itself is pure. You're going to simply be a vessel. And if you want what's going to be in the cup to come out pure, you cannot be what you were before the water encountered you. Can't. And the only way for that to happen is for the water to be on full force to completely clean all of it. No residue of the old. Then some will say, well, that's impossible and that takes a long time. Does it? Does it? You ever washed a cup with hot water? And I'm talking about if you've been in like a restaurant. Okay. So you've been in a restaurant and the dishes come through. I was a dishwasher at one point, and I was also a baker at one point at one of these, Sherry's, I think it was I was working at. And they have this big machine, right? So what the machine does is you rack up the dishes and you put it through, and it blasts hot, and I mean hot water. When you touch the plates coming out on the other end, it is like burning hot water that went on this thing, right? And there are some dishes that would be sitting there for a few 5-10 minutes, and they would get caked on food. Now you put these dishes through this steamer, and it blasts hot water all through it. Flesh, it's going both directions, right? Every bit of debris is gone in seconds. Now, I could take cold water and put all my dishes in cold water. It would take months for that thing to get clean, just leaving it there. But if I have a job to do as a dish, my goal would be to be as clean as possible, as quickly as possible to do whatever is my goal at hand. So that means putting me through blazing hot water, blasting everything off of there so that when I pop out, I'm clean. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Thank you, Shannon. I'm going to do it. The believer today doubts, I'm not going to say all, doubts the actual work of Christ on the cross. They like it, but they doubt it. They like the concept of forgiveness, but they're unwilling to actually turn away from what they've been forgiven for. It has more value in their life than Christ does. And I understand that what I'm saying may be difficult, hard. It may even anger some. Because what you've been told is that to fall is normal, to sin is human, and that is why we have forgiveness. I'm not purposefully and doing this because I want to. I can't help it. I've struggled so long with this, I just don't see how it can just go away. You don't understand how hard it is to just let it go. I know he forgave me, but And so one day you have a overflow of your mess, and it starts to show on the outside, and people now notice that your sin is showing. So what do? You go to the altar and you ask forgiveness, because you need to keep that outside clear. And you cry and you weep, and then you go home, and for about 2 days you're fine because the outside is there, clean now. You can look at yourself. Finally, you can look at yourself. I'm clear. But you forgot the inside that you still haven't dealt with because it's not something you want to deal with. Because you said to yourself, he is not that strong. My past is too strong. It's just too much. My past is what really is affecting me right now, and I just can't shake it. And then, boom, you're back in it again. And then it starts to show again. And then you come right back to the altar and you repeat and you repeat and you repeat. And then before long, everyone is doing it for big and small issues. Big and small issues. So here are the two most monumental questions facing believers. If God's grace is sufficient and he conquered death and the grave, and sin no longer has a hold on us, and he cleansed you from all unrighteousness, how is your sin greater than his sacrifice? I just want to know. Then, if you can answer that question, answer me this. You remember how humans, we have this thing called marriage, right? And what we consider an amazing marriage is a man who can stay faithful to his wife and provide and do all the things within the confines of a marriage and never stray for 50, 60 years, right? It's doable. It's doable. That's what we tell people. That's doable. Hear me out. That is doable. To stay faithful, never stray, don't even look, doable. Doable. He is looked at as amazing. And he does it because he loves his wife. And his wife is the exact same way, stays faithful, just man, right? He's a man of God, true to his word. Yeah. But somehow when you got married to God through Christ, that's different. To stray is normal. It's expected because you're only human. To fall is natural. God understands. I know you saved me, but you could stay faithful and are impressed upon to stay faithful and to not stray and to stay within the confines and to be everything that the marriage relates it needs to be. And yet, when God relates the relationship you have with Him to marriage, you are happy and content to see yourself as the unfaithful spouse and consider it normal. You consider that a regular current. In fact, you will be fine with the person that you're married to knowing that you're cheating. And you go to them every time you do and say, "Forgive me. But you know I can't help it. I've been trying, but you know it's difficult." You see how we can give man the excuse and we can also give man the credit, but you're not willing to do that for God, like at all. You are married to God. You are. Christ is the head. You are the bride. When you are joined, He is the head. He's the groom. You are the bride. Your job is to be faithful. Why do marriages that last a long time last a long time? They last a long time because both people involved in it love each other. And you know for a fact you wouldn't do something to the heart of the other person that you love because you love them. All of the things that could be out there pale in comparison to the love you feel. Confused. You ask if your sin is greater than God's sacrifice, right? I don't think nothing is greater than than sacrificing your child. I need some clarity on that. I need clarification on the question. If you can please clarify what the question is that you're asking. That's all I need, just clarification, because it's not very clear what the question is. If you are his bride, if you entered into that marriage arrangement, that sanctified marriage, and you say you love your husband, you say that, there will be nothing that will draw you outside of the marriage. I don't care how good looking the other person is. I don't care how attractive. I don't care what they offer. Does not matter to you. It doesn't matter. I don't care how great the pull is. They could be offering you millions of dollars. House in Tahiti. Heck, they could even offer you the chance to, when you marry me, to not even stay with me. They could offer you everything, multiple partners, offer you all kinds of stuff. But if you say you love Christ, then maybe, I don't know, act like it. But here's the problem. Right. Is our sin greater than God's sacrifice? Yes. So what's the confusion? Thank you, Nicole. I'm confused as to your confusion. If you can please clarify your confusion so I can be less confused for you and help clarify your confusion, that'd be great. The sacrifice of Jesus Christ atoned for all sin. A-L-L. All. The penalty removed. Removed. When you tell him that I get that, but you don't understand, I still have to hold on to this one because I have no choice. You're in essence telling him, you didn't get all of it. You only got some, and mine are too great for yours to get. You cannot cover mine. I'm sorry. In essence, your sin that you say you have is greater than the sacrifice. I mean, we know that's not true, but that's what you're telling God. It's that way because you want it to be. You are holding it higher. You are holding it higher than his sacrifice actually paid for. So you continue doing the things that you like. And then you'll go back to the altar and get forgiven. And you get an emotional outburst because, oh, I'm forgiven. I'm forgiven. Oh, I can't believe I've been doing this for so long. And thank you, God. You forgave me. You forgave me. Oh. And then Monday rolls around and same old, same old. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. My Friday becomes so much and it's pouring out the cup. You go back on Sunday. Oh, God, please forgive me. I keep doing this. I can't understand it. And then pretty soon, that Sunday feeling is now a drug for you. You'll be like, I can't wait to feel that feeling of forgiveness again. You're not even focused on the fact that you keep falling in order to experience that. And that's what's keep pushing you. And then you keep going back. But then one day you realize that you're doing it, but there's no, it becomes less. It's less now. And then you find a bigger sin so that the experience of forgiveness is greater. Forgiveness is now your drug. Forgiveness is now your drug. If you take something to God, why do you keep going back to pick it up? Just so you can bring it back and pick it up and bring it back and pick it up and bring it back and pick it up. Why? Is it so valuable to you? Does it just have such a grand place in your life that you have to have it all the time? You're less without it? You're not human without it? Did you really bring all your sin to him when you turned? Did you or did you not? That's the question I keep asking. I have not gotten a single straight answer from any of the people that espouse that falling is a natural part of the Christian walk. I have never gotten a true answer from any one of them. Why is it a part of your walk? What could be so valuable to you? What? It must mean that you never fully saw his grace in full. You have never seen his grace in full. You don't fully think that he has actually saved all of you. You don't believe it. We hear it all the time, though. He forgave my past, my present, and my future. What they really mean is that no matter what I do, I'm forgiven. That's what they really want to say. No matter what I do, I'm forgiven. Not that he actually removed it. No, it's still coming down the pike, but it's forgiven. He knows I'm going to do that there. So I might as well go through with it because I'm forgiven. Not a constant dwelling of your mind on him. No, you're just waiting for the next time your flesh acts up to go back and get forgiveness. You just like waiting on that because you know what? This is how I am. I'm in the flesh. It's going to be my battle for the rest of my life. Not even remotely has he ever said that. People are going to bring up, well, you remember the thing I used to do, I'm going to keep on. No, that's before. 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 At the end of that entire spiel, he said, who is going to save me? Thank God. My battle is not there at all. He said that. But we want to hold on to all of our stuff and say that we are better than God. What he said he saved me from, he kind of did, but you know, I'm human. you know, I'm human, God. Just remember, I'm human. And as a human, my sin is stronger than your forgiveness. Just remember that. It'll keep popping up. But I will take your forgiveness on this level that it will cover it anyway. Why is my question? Why are you looking at salvation that way? What gave you that aspect of salvation? If you really were weary and heavy laden and you were coming for rest, why are you still wearing the backpack? Why, when he comes and tells you to lie down, you stand up? Why, when he tells you to dump it all on the cross, you pick it back up? Why? What is in your life that's so important to hold on to that it outweighs true repentance? The only thing I can think of is that you think you're better than God. You don't really need anything from him. You like the idea of marriage to him. You like all the perks that the marriage to him might bring. You have become one of the worst spouses ever. The question is why? Why? And only you can answer that question, not me, not anyone else in this room. You're the only one that can answer that question. I'll answer this one question here today. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And the tree of life is not what they were told not to eat from. They were told not to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. He kicked them out of the garden so that they wouldn't, in their fallen state, eat from the tree of life and remain that way. And we can't establish unity among each other without the binding material that is God. The binding material that will eventually make all of us be able to live in unity is not us, it's Him. That's why there will never be true unity on mankind's level. It'll be a unity in something else, and that's His life. Mankind doesn't know unity. Mankind doesn't know unity. It is a difficult concept. I understand. Look, I get it. People say, well, you're trying to tell people they need to live perfect and not do this. And if that's the way you see it, you're going to make life a whole lot more difficult for yourself. If you believe that living the kind of life that God calls you to do is your effort, you've lost the whole point of salvation altogether already. The mind has to change. And I keep saying this. Your flesh, your body, is going to be your arch nemesis for the rest of your life. It will constantly want what it wants. Ain't no avoiding that. That's why He told you to not set your mind on that. He specifically said, set your mind on the things of the Spirit, because that is where the true battle was won. The devil has no jurisdiction there. He can't do jack squat to you there. No form of yourself in this affects you there, as long as you stay there. Which is why it's so important to be in communion with Him all the time, all the time. And it should be a fun thing to stay there all the time because you're married to Him, because you love Him. And love loves the person and the company of the person. It's not a chore. It's not a task. It's a pleasure. You pop out of your bed thinking about it. You go to bed thinking about it. It's a newlywed season the whole the way through. If you consider this a battle against the flesh, you've already lost. The instant you set your mind over there, you lost. The key is you keeping your mind set on the things of the Spirit, and the sacrifice He gave already took care of the flesh. You don't have to worry about the flesh. He takes care of that. He keeps it at bay. He's always on your mind. Even when the flesh comes trying to drag you back, you're like, yeah, not today, buddy. No. Because like we said about the thought life, you can feel it trying to knock. You can hear it knocking. You don't have to answer the door. Heck, you don't even got to go to the door. But you know it's there. And the fact that you know it's there means what? Now I got to really make sure that I'm focused on what I'm supposed to be focused on. And pretty soon the knocking has no consequence. It can knock all at once. It's not getting in. So this concept of fall, fall, fall until you no longer can fall. You'd be busted up in your knees. You can't walk no more. You might break your back. You'll never be able to walk. Now, what you really are is addicted to the idea of forgiveness. And you have now created a cycle for yourself that will make you feel good about where you are. And you might be in the pits. And that's a problem. Then you got to ask yourself, did you really surrender? And there's always time to surrender. Like right now. There's always time and an opportunity to fully surrender. Give it all, all. There's nothing on this earth that's worth it. Nothing. I mean, literally, there's nothing. Just think about it this way. Nothing the world has to offer, nothing your flesh has to offer, nothing Satan has to offer can compare. It just can't. There is no competition. There is not even a close degree of separation. None of it. None of it. It's not worth it. Outside of the dangers of hell, it's not worth it. It's temporary. As of today, if you were ever struggling with anything, place your mind on the things of the Spirit. You know what he did, and you're perpetually thankful that he did it. And every thought you have runs through that first before anything else. Keep them captive. The instant a thought comes to your mind about anything that's untoward God, you thank him that it is powerless. Not ask him. It's done. He said it was finished. Don't keep asking him to do stuff that's already done. You thank him that it's done, and you dwell in the finished work. You dwell in that. It's done. He's defeated death and the grave. It's done. It has no power over you, and you thank him for that. Plain and simple. You don't need to complicate it. You don't need to overthink it. Anytime a thought even remotely pops close to your door, hey, you remember what? Thank you, God. That's a done work. That's a done work. That's a done work. Your life is all that matters, and your life is all I have. Thank you, it's done. That is all you have to do. You take your mind and you place it on the things of the Spirit. Take your mind and you place it on the things of the Spirit. Before too long, it becomes so natural that you don't even think about what you're thinking about because it just happens. The same way when I was doing electrical work and I had a piece of Cat 6 that I'm trying to remember the color coding for, okay? Because it's a very specific color coding that you have to put these 8 piers, and they got 8 wires, and they all have a different color striping on them. And there's a very specific order that they go in. When I first started doing it, I had to like really mentally focus. Okay, it's this, double, triple, quadruple check it. And then as I'm putting the sleeve on, I'm thinking, okay, pull it back off. And I got to make sure it's straight. And I'm really focused on doing that. And I kept doing it. You know what? Before too long, I could pull, twist, flip straight, snip, put on, crimp, done. Next one. My time was about 40 seconds, 30 seconds, somewhere in there to finish one. I could run through almost 700 pairs of cabling in about 4 hours, easily, dressed and plugged in. My muscles became memorized to the motion. My eyes could read it like that. My brain knew exactly what was coming next and what was not to happen. I didn't have to think about it. It went from a task to an easy operation. He said, "It's done." Grab a hold that it's done. It's done. It's done. Flesh has no power over you. Sin has no hold over you. You don't need to keep falling. That is not a part of your mission. That is not a part of the Christian walk. Your life is hid in Christ. And if that's where you are, there is no darkness that can infiltrate that. Darkness can't come in. Darkness has no place there. It has no reign there. It has no power there. It has no foothold there. It's a done work there. Why are you so focused on things that are outside of that realm when you say you left it? Leave it then. Fully leave it. It's done. Thank him, it's done. It is not something you go back to. You don't need to live it again. You don't need to keep asking for forgiveness for anything because you're not doing it anymore. You shouldn't be doing it anymore because you should be placing your mind on the things of the Spirit. And you can completely disagree with this. That's completely up to you. You can enjoy doing all the things you've been doing. That's completely up to you. You can continue telling people that is part of the human walk, that falling is completely fine. Or even if it's not completely fine, it's completely normal. Keep doing that. That's up to you. I choose to believe what he told me. He told me that he defeated sin and grave. He told me that we're no longer a slave to sin. He told me that in his life there is no darkness, and he told me to place my mind on the Spirit. And if I do those things, there is no possible way the flesh is going to have its way with me. None. Not my old self. I don't care how long I had been doing it. If I gave it up, I gave it up. I no longer have it. If I no longer have it, how am I still allowing it to possess me? How? How, Sway? How? You didn't give it up then. It's still yours. It's still yours. All right. Just know that if you say you're supposed to give it up when you pick up the body of Christ, but you're still doing it, then you probably didn't give it up. I don't see God handing it back to you on occasion just so you can feel what it used to feel like. I don't see him doing that. I mean, maybe he's a masochist. I don't think so, but maybe in your world, your God's a masochist, but my God ain't. When he said he took it, he took it. He took it. He took it away and just tossed that sucker out there. That ain't coming back no more. In his world, that's gone. Not for you to keep finding a new one or to go back to the old. It's gone. If it's gone, let it go. Why are you going scuba diving and spelunking to find a sucker? Come on, man. Stop. It's possible in Christ. It's possible in Christ. In any occasion, in any event. Down below, scrolling. For those of you who have been asking him, one option there. Don't do it unless you haven't asked him. Please ask him. Make sure you ask him. Don't just move. Ask him. It's very vital that you talk to him. You should be talking to him all the time anyway. So he should be able to tell you whether or not instantaneously, but just talk to him. Talk to him. If that's an option that you want. If you want to send anything outside of emails, this is the P.O. Box. The P.O. Box is open now, available, ready. You can send it, letters, derogatory statements, anything you want. Just make sure you put my name, Marlon Brown. Brown is with an E on the end to that address. Enjoy the rest of your day. The Savage Patriots will be on today at 6:30 Eastern. We'll be discussing the concept of this reparation movement happening in California. There will be a 2 strong tonight, and there should be a mix tonight. But I know for sure the others are there, and the mix is pending. So I look forward to seeing you guys the rest of the shows. Please, if this spoke to you, I'm glad. If it angered you, before you give in to the anger, take the anger to the author and ask him why you're angry. Tell him that you're angry and just break it down with him. You can't go wrong anyway. Say you don't like what I'm saying. Say I'm just wrong. Either way, taking it back to the author ain't gonna harm you. And if he feels like, slapping me upside the head and telling me, what you talking about? Sin is normal, then he'll do it. Okay, he'll do it. He'll do that. In any case, please make sure you smash that like button, share button. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the podcast on YouTube, go to Straight Talk and you can type in my name and you can subscribe there. The family is growing, which is good. I'm looking forward to how big it will actually get. And the more people we can have understand God's true intent for the body, I think the happier we'll be, honestly. The more joy you'll experience in life and the less the devil will have a foothold. So tune in next time. Tomorrow we have, verify, my brain doesn't work too quickly here. Tomorrow is what, the 21st, right? The purpose of fasting. We'll be talking about fasting tomorrow. As usual, don't come with your own preconceived ideas, but if you do, that's okay too. I'm still going to say what I'm going to say. So we're going to talk about the purpose of fasting and go from there. Love you guys. Mean it. Hope you guys have a grand rest of the day and see you in the rest of the shows. Wisdom calls to you from the streets. Please, please, please find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight the dreams, for if dreams die, rely on yourself.